Hello and welcome to the Motion Events Pro introductory and tutorial video. So what is Motion Events Pro? It's a visual timeline for firing perfectly timed events from and within your animations. So let's talk about this real quick before we dive in. Audio, as I mentioned, is for adding perfectly synced audio to your animations. Visual effects, for example, would be as if you have an animation where, say, the character snaps his fingers and you want a particle orb to appear in their hand. You can do that with this. If you have a impact or something like that where you want the camera to shake, you can add that, and it comes with a bunch of presets like impact, quake, so on and so forth. Gameplay is perfect for calling methods or properties on other components within your character. And GameObjects, as I said, is enabling and disabling and toggling. So I don't want to take any more of your time. I just rather show you. So when you install it from the Unity Asset Store, you'll be greeted by this window. Feel free to read it and then click the Get Started button here and you will see the user guide. This will tell you exactly what everything does, how to use the timeline navigation, what each marker which marker type does, such as audio, gameplay, camera, GameObject, and VFX, as well as a quick start. The quick start is basically add a motion events player to the game object that has the animator, and Motion Events Pro will take care of the rest. And I'm going to show you exactly how to set that up. But first I want to show you the game that I'm working on to show you some animations that I added audio and particle and visual effects and gameplay elements to trigger certain things within my code. So let's dive right in. So here's my game. And I'm going to bring up the bow. You need to hear the audio. Let's bring up my grappling hook. All right. Now let me show you the torch where it uses VFX as well as calling methods within my scripts. There you go. Lights the torch. So that's exactly what it can do. Now let me show you how to do it. So if I go back to the editor here and I select inside the character, I have the main body and I have the arms separate. So I'm going to focus on the arms. So let's take a look at the arms here. I've gone ahead and added the motion events player component directly to the game object that has the animator. Then I dragged and dropped the animator into the animator field. You won't have a database to start with, so don't worry. But as soon as you click the Open Motion Events window, it will say, hey, you don't have a database. Do you want to add one? Just wait until my stupid virus thing goes away here. All right. So then you have a few things here. Underneath, you have process all layers. Just leave these all by default. But process all layers means that if you have an animator with a bunch of layers, such as arms, fingers, whatever, legs, toes, whatever, it will pull animations from every single layer and it will show them inside the editor. One thing I do want to point out here is the output mixer group. So if you have your user interface where you have a slider to control the volume, you can drag and drop that here. So all of the sound effects that you add here will be controlled volume-wise based on the mixer group or the mixer group's volume value. And then if you want to use the camera shake, you can drag and drop the camera you wish to apply these shake effects to here. And that's it. Once that's done, you're set up. Now, since I have this already pre-set up, I just click the Open Motion Events window, and you're greeted by this. Here you'll see the animation browser, which has all of the animations that are part of the animator on this model. And all of the features here, such as you'll see the animator for the arms, as well as the database, which is tied into this. Again, if there is no database here, it'll say this is the animator, but there's no database. Do you want to create one? Simply create one. It will automatically add it to your player and automatically populate your editor right here. Or you can click rescan if it fails to do so, or manually add it. Here you can display in seconds, frames, or normalized. Right now I have it set to seconds, but if I choose frames, it'll show all the frames for that particular animation. I like to work in seconds. Here you have snap, which allows you to snap to each of the beats. If you want to really fine tweak it, you can turn off snap and you have full control of the positioning. And then you have skip to the beginning, skip to the next frame, skip forward to the next frame and move to the end. Play stop as well as loop. So if loop is true, it'll just keep playing it over and over again. You can have it sped up or slowed down. This is just for visual preference. It doesn't actually alter the animation, but it allows you to speed it up and slow it down if you want. If you want to add keys to any of these timelines, there's quite a few places you can do it. The first one is right here. Simply choose what you want to add and then click add audio or add gameplay or add camera. Well, you get the idea. Or you can right click and add audio, or right click and add VFX, right click and add da da da. So wherever this marker is where the key will be placed. So to move the marker, you left click and drag just like that. And then if you want to zoom in, say for example, you have a lot of frames and you want to really refine it and pinpoint the exact precise millisecond that this event will fire, then you use the scroll button on your mouse and scroll in, scroll out. So if you scroll in and then middle mouse click, you can then click and drag the timeline like you would a movie editor. You can also add keys on the specific corresponding timeline here by clicking these buttons down here. So there's multiple ways of doing it. To delete a key, for example, if I have audio, I could just right click on it and go to duplicate or delete or copy, paste here, that kind of thing. So full control, just like a movie editor. So I'm going to delete that. And let's take a look at a few of the animations. So we have the bow raise here, and you'll see that the animation here is already set up. And if I scroll, you can see that the animation plays and scrubs in real time. Enable and disable your weapons here so you can see, get a better representation. But I just want to show you this real quick. And, like the stow. So if you play it, everything plays as it should. So we have the sword draw, which is for drawing the sword. So that is the one we're going to work on. So I'm going to, I'm going to extend this. And I'm going to enable the sword just so I can see it just for reference. So there's the sword. Let's enable it so I can check it out. I'm going to move this over here so I can see it better. All right, so now the sword is right here in the view. So if I scrub, you can see the sword animation like so. Now, it doesn't matter that it's going through models. That's obviously just for the first person view, so you don't actually see it go through the arm. So it doesn't really matter. It's just the perception or illusion of, right? So we want to have the sword sound withdrawn right about here. So let's add a audio marker. So I'm just going to click this button here. Now let's talk about the audio settings. Here you'll see the very first thing here you'll see is audio marker, or it'll be VFX marker, camera marker, so on and so forth. But here, if you check it out, you can change the name, you can change the timing in milliseconds if you want, and you can have it enabled, disabled, or change the color. I just recommend leaving them as default. But let's talk about the audio settings because there's quite a lot of power here. The first thing is just the audio clip, a single fired audio clip that will play at this point in the animation. Or if you want, you can randomize the clip and add an array of variants of that. So whenever the animation plays and it triggers that audio cue, it'll randomly select from one of the variants. So you can add some spice and some flavor and some randomness to the sound of your animation as well, which I think is super awesome. But for the purpose of this one, I'm just going to use a single audio clip. Now here you can choose the volume of the clip. Just say the audio is too loud. You can actually turn it down a little bit if you so choose. But FYI, in the editor here, or when you play back, it will always play at full volume. Just as a limitation of Unity, it will not adjust the actual sound. But when you enter gameplay or play mode, it will actually play at the volume that you set here. Random volume allows you to randomize the volume. So again, you can add a little bit more flavor. Sometimes it might be louder. Sometimes it might be, quieter. It's totally up to you, but allows you to add some randomness to that. 0 is off. Anywhere in between is basically the random percentage that this will actually take place. Pitch is, pitch. And random pitch is the same as the volume. It allows you to add a bit of spice, a different pitch, different randomness in pitch, different randomness in volume. That is completely up to you. Or you can change the pitch of the entire clip. Spatial blend right now, it's set to 2D. As you can see here with the tooltip, it says 0 is 2D, 1 is fully positional, but you can have anywhere in between. You can even have it where it emits from the bone. By default, it is root of the character, but if you want to have the audio, say, emit from the right hand or the right bone where it's playing from, first turn on your spatial blend and then choose the right arm wrist. So I'm going to have to go down here. It's quite the long list of stuff. So I'm going to do it from my wrist on my right arm, which is right there. So now it will play the audio on that bone. You can emit offset it if you want. You can set the min and max distance, roll out, roll off, and here you can delay in seconds or milliseconds if you so choose. I personally would never ever use this, but I have it there if you so choose. Probability is the probability of will it play or will it not. 1 means that every time the key is triggered, it will always play, but you can have it set to 0 where it will never trigger, or anywhere in between where it will trigger possibly within that percentage margin. Loop means that it will fire the audio and then it will loop that audio forever. This is something I will probably never use, and I doubt many of you will use, but you have the option if you so choose. And here it's pretty self-explanatory. You can mute the audio in the preview when you play it back. So we've gone ahead and added a audio in here that emits from the wrist. And let's check it out and see what it sounds like. Well, it probably would help if I actually added an audio clip. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Sorry about that. Sword. Yeah, that's kind of a nice long one. But it's a quick draw, so yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I like that one better. Let's add that one. Go back to the beginning and check it out. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So let's close this before we go and move on to the other. Let's check it out in the game so you get a feel for it and see how it works. So here we go, drawing the sword. Perfect. So let's try it again. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So that's how easy that is. Now let's talk about the other options here. So we're going to select the character, open Events Pro. It automatically wires it all in, says, hey, you've already got it set up. So let's do this. And let's just select a random one here. And let's talk about visual effects. So if I had a visual effects here, what this does is it allows you to spawn in a prefab, such as particles or game objects, onto your character, such as your root, which will apply it to the root, or spawn at the root, or you can apply it to any of the bones. So say, for example, you have an animation where the character is snapping his fingers and you want a orb to appear in their palm. You could literally do that, choose their attach point. So for example, in this right hand, we could choose the attach point so it'll appear there. You can offset it, you can rotate it, you can scale it, and you can have lifetime. If you set it to 0, it'll never ever destroy itself. If you set it to 5 or any number for that matter, it will live in the world for 5 seconds and then it will destroy itself. You can parent it to the bone or you can parent it to the world. So say, for example, you have an animation where the character waves his hand like a magic gesture and you want him to spawn a portal into the world. So you spawn it at your root or wherever you want, and then you parent it, not parent it to the bone. You make sure this is unchecked and it will stay in the world, and set this to 0 and it will always stay in the world. But but just mess around with it. You can pretty well do anything you want. So moving on, let's delete that. Let's add a camera here. So the camera, if you've added the camera on the player component at the bottom here, it will automatically find it here. If not, you can go ahead and add it here as well. You can choose a custom preset such as light, tap, footstep, impact, quake, explosion, that kind of thing. So if your animation requires you to have subtle or dramatic camera shake at any point in time, you can add that here. You can choose the amplitude, frequency, duration, and fall off curve by simply adjusting and setting this up and getting the exact feel you want. Now the camera and the visual effects, you'll have to enter play mode to test since they are spawned in and actually affects the camera. Obviously, you're not going to be able to see it here. But so I'm going to delete that. Let's look at the game component or game object by adding one here. This is great for setting up and enabling hitboxes. So for example, if I have a sword swing and I want to enable the hitbox at a certain point in the animation and disable it at a certain point in the animation, where in that window that it will be the only time that you will be able to inflict damage on your enemies, then you can do that here by simply choosing a component and then enabling, because you want to enable it here if it's not already enabled. You want to enable it here, and then you choose the collider that you want to enable, and then you move to where you want it to disable, and you set it to disable at that key. So then within that window, your damage will be active. I hope that made sense. But yeah, it's very powerful. So let's move on and delete that. So let's look at the last one here, which is your gameplay. So when you add the gameplay, you just simply click on add call. And this is quite powerful. So for example, you can choose the component that is on the target. So if you choose a different target, you will have different components. But for sake of my sanity and the fact that there's so many on the main player, let's take a look at the components on this and choose the Motion Events Pro just for the sake of it. And then you can alter the method and property here. So you can have it choose a tick or whatever is visible, change the database, that kind of thing. But just food for thought, you have to have in your scripts that you're, or components, I should say, the scripts that you're trying to fire or call a method on, they have to be public methods, not private, because we do not use reflection in this, just to keep it optimized and as fast as possible. So make sure that whatever you're trying to call is public. Also, just another note too, you want to make sure that since this is for your character or NPCs, that kind of thing, if your character is spawning into the world, you do not want to set keys or events outside of the object that you're spawning into the world, because if you do, they will break as it will not be able to find them. So this is for anything within the master route or within its children, not on the outside. Now, if your character is always in the scene, never spawns or despawns, then sure, you can start using outside keys to trigger different things. But this is particularly for a character logic system. All right. So I hope that makes sense. I think I've covered everything. If not, please take a look at the user guide here, as it covers absolutely everything you need to know and how it works, core concepts, quick start guide, that kind of thing. So feel free to check that out. If you have any problems or if you discover a bug, which I doubt you will, but if you do, please reach out via my website. Don't set a review. Just head to my website, drop a support ticket, and I will take a look at it, get back to you, and fix it ASAP. Or you can send me an email just to say hi. You can visit me on Discord. I'm active everywhere. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching. If you purchase this, thanks a lot for your support. It means that I can keep making awesome assets for you all to use. Thanks again. Take care. Bye-bye.